Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to Breaking the Ice. I have no idea how you found this podcast, but I figured either I got it up on iTunes or something, and I just wanted to thank you for at least downloading it and giving it a chance. This is actually my first podcast. My name is Mark. I'm actually 30 years old, and I am recording this for the sake of I wanted to talk about pretty much anything and everything, and I know that sometimes other areas can be limited, but I chose this. Pretty much today is going to be talking about a lot of things, kind of me introducing myself, but also at the same time I'm going to be talking a little bit about like retro video games. Just lately, that's where my mind has been. But for the podcast, I'm planning on doing pretty much whatever comes to my mind at the time, or whatever I just feel like talking about that week. The reason I actually called it Breaking the Ice is I tend to notice that whenever I go out with friends and stuff, even though sometimes I can be very like introverted, I actually find myself able to break the ice pretty quickly by asking people just out of general curiosity, questions about themselves or whatever. And so I find it very easy to pretty much break the ice, you know? So that's actually why I chose that. I mean, it sounded good. I figured whatever. I mean, I figured that that would be my best idea. So, As for me, I already told you earlier, my name is Mark. I'm 30 years old. I like to do a lot of things, like, you know, long walks on the beach and so on. That was a terrible joke. But essentially, what I'm doing is I like to talk about retro video games. I mean, I'm very curious. I like to read different articles and stuff like that and just, you know, see different things. I like going to movies, you know, all the typical things that people do. I like to work out a lot. I kind of am all over the place right now. I figure I'll get better with time. But that's kind of what's going on with this podcast. Not sure how long it'll be right now. I'm just trying to talk and see if I can even talk. But as for right now, so pretty much the topic for the most part, as far as what I've written down, is going to be like retro video games a lot of the time. The first things that I've been wanting to do is I took a hiatus, I guess, from collecting for like the longest time. I guess just life got in the way. But essentially what it is that I've been trying to collect video games. Mainly I like to collect NES and Super Nintendo a lot of the time, or SNES. But I used to go on Craigslist a lot, and I used to go on eBay or to Half Price Books. I got tired of doing Craigslist because of just the traveling and everything like that, but you can get some great deals. It just, you know, you do have to do the traveling and everything. eBay, it kind of takes the fun out of it because it's kind of like you're just looking up what you want and you get it, and that's at the end. The most that I've had fun with, even though you don't get the best deals, tends to be Half Price Books. I like going to Half Price Books, not just for games. I do like looking at pretty much everything else that's out there. But I do like going to the game case and looking at the different games that they have. The prices are usually pretty much close to eBay prices. Occasionally, Half Price Books will release coupons and stuff. Like, let's say a week of like 20 and then 20%, and then the next day they'll have 30%, and then the next day they'll have 40, and so on. I'll usually try and wait till those 40 and 50% days, but you get things here and there. It just varies store by store. But I've noticed ever since I took a hiatus and then I kind of came back only recently, prices have been going so high for just like little things like Super Nintendo games and like, you know, pretty much all the classics, like such as the Marios, the Zeldas, anything in general that is fairly well known. It's usually $20, $30, $40 now, when it used to be like 15 or 20. Now you're pretty much paying $20, $30, or $40 for everything. Most people tend to check eBay prices and so on. So unless you're going to Craigslist and you're hitting lucky, or you're going to garage sales, which is like you're pretty much driving all over the place, that is what tends to be the best bets for best deals. But I just think that ever since this thing, retro collecting has gotten more popular, the price is getting higher and higher and higher, and I don't really see them going down anytime soon, which kind of makes it hard to collect. Because if you don't want to invest a lot of money into it, it's almost like you kind of have to live vicariously through like YouTube. Like I'll watch a lot of YouTube gaming channels just because of the sheer fact that I don't have money to spend on stuff like that. Like I can't just go out and buy a Switch all the time. I can't just go and buy like a $40 game one day. I mean, I could, but sometimes they're just things that are more important that I need to save my money for. And it kind of sucks because I do want to have the games and stuff. I love having a collection, but also at the same time, you know, it's like being torn between, do I spend the $40 here and then I can't like do so and so and so later. But for the most part, it does suck. I would like to buy more games, but it just depends on, you know, the prices, and if you get lucky, you know, every now and then you'll get something at like half price books, for example. But yeah, so, but I don't really see the prices going down anytime soon. But yeah, and actually while I'm at half price books a lot of the time, I tend to go check the strategy guide case a lot of the time, because I notice a lot of people don't really check those. More people are checking about the retro video games and stuff. Lately, I've noticed that I've enjoyed looking through the strategy guide case to see some of the older strategy guides that I tend to notice that I like the old NES. If you have a strategy guide for like an NES game or a Super Nintendo game, they didn't make them too much unless there was like an official Nintendo player's guide. They didn't tend to make them too much, but they started happening more around Super Nintendo and so on. So I tend to like to collect the older strategy guides like that. But lately also I've been really getting into like different art books. So like, for example, my birthday was just recently. I really like that I got this Castlevania Lords of Shadow art book. I love Castlevania. It's one of my favorite games from the NES era, but what it is about it is I just love that gothic style of like Dracula and just the way that the art is created. I don't really know how to draw too well myself or anything, so I just find I enjoy looking at those books. I wish I could display them more, but for the most part, I love that style. I think it's called like gothic horror. I tend to notice that I'm drawn to that all the time. I don't know why, but I just really enjoy it. Also, another one of them is, you know, of course, Zelda, the Hyrule Historia. And then they also have this new Zelda art book that just came out. I think it's like Art and Artifacts or whatever, just alongside Breath of the Wild. I would like to get that one day because that has a lot of the older Nintendo and 8-bit and cartoon style Zeldas. So I thought that was pretty cool. But those are what I've been tending to get more into lately. I think I would like to build a collection and use those as display pieces. I tend to get more enjoyment out of those than I noticed lately of buying games. It's just one of those things, and they're not necessarily that expensive. They're usually like 30 or below, just depending on what type of book you're buying. But I recently noticed that I love the game Bloodborne, though I have not played it, actually, which is ironic. I have not played Bloodborne. I've watched hundreds and hundreds of videos about it. I love the style of the art. I just love it. I don't know what it is about it. I just love it that it's like a Victorian era style game. But the thing, though, is I hate gameplay like that. Like, I hate... Not that I say I hate it, I suck at it, I guess I should say. Not that I hate it, but I hate it because I suck at it. And I hate that you die so easily in that game, and I don't think I have enough patience for it. I used to have Demon Souls back in the day, but I just never like beat it. I just eventually got tired of it. I would get my ass handed to me, and I eventually sold the game, even though I shouldn't have sold it. I probably should have kept it for my collection since it was the original. But I think I just got fed up with it, and I wasn't enjoying it at all. and I would spend hours in it and still get my ass handed to me. And people would say like, oh, like once you get past, once you learn it, it becomes awesome or whatever. But like I did not find it rewarding at all. Thought the style and everything was super cool, like the art of it. But I always hated the gameplay of it. But I always loved the art. Which lately I've been going back and looking at the different art books that they have for Demon Souls or Bloodborne and everything. And I know that they have Bloodborne just recently. They've had the collector's edition strategy guides with little art sections. But they have just recently, I think June 13th is when it's going to come out. June 13th, 2017. The Bloodborne artwork, which is the book released by Sony or some company, but I believe it's Sony in collaboration with some company. And I'm really interested in buying that when it's coming soon. As for that, those are the ones that I really tend to love. There are more art books that I love to see. Like, for example, it's things like, it's not even necessarily art book, but strategy guides, such as like the official Nintendo Player's Guide, which is like an old book that came with like 90 NES games, and it was like almost like a little strategy guide for every single one of the 90 games that were originally out for it. And I used to love that stuff. I'm trying to think what else I might be missing about that, but I think I covered that. I'm not used to talking by myself. I'm better in conversations, I tend to notice. But I'm just trying to spitball here, I guess. I think I kind of covered that, but also another thing that I've really been into lately, I think I wanted to take my game room a little bit more seriously. I don't know if I'll ever get around to it, but I think I would like to take my game room designing a little bit more seriously. I noticed that I have a bunch of games and they're kind of just stored in bookcases, in a single row, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's very plain. I have a little bit of figures, like little plushies and stuff in the bookcases, but for the most part, it's just straight up, put the game in, clean it, put the game in, that's pretty much it. I don't really care to display, like I've seen people on YouTube and they have like 10 different systems all displayed. I actually don't want to do that. I don't care to have the original systems displayed. I don't mind. I like having them, but I don't care to have them displayed. I think what it is that recently I saw there's this guy on YouTube. His name is like Wood. He is constantly with the Game Chasers and everything. And I actually live in the same city as them. I'm in Dallas. I believe they're in Arlington. In Wood, I think he's up in Canada now, which I used to visit all the time, Ottawa, Ontario. But I've been watching this Wood Hawking or Wood, I forgot his last name, sorry. But he had these cubed bookshelves. So it's like essentially like, let's say 12 cubes. And within each cube, he had the different design. And I think I really enjoy the fact that what he does is that instead of just putting the games, put them all in, stack them, put them all in, stack them, in each cube, he has a different way that he designed that cube, almost like it's its own entity or own little, panorama, or I forgot the word for it, a little own cubby hole. And then he moves on to the next one. Like one is Zelda, and he has like different little things of Zelda that he enjoys. And then the next one is like, let's say Castlevania, or the next one's like, some of the rare things that he found of a specific game of Mario or in general. But I love how he designs it, and I think I would rather do that than just have like a black bookcase and just kind of put the games in and that's it, and like maybe a couple figures. I think that's kind of boring. And I think that a lot of other people are missing is their walls are always so plain. I noticed that the people that have artwork on top, like let's say that they have posters, different game posters and stuff that are actually pasted to their wall, makes it look a lot cooler. Like when you add art onto the wall and everything, I think it looks a lot cooler than just having a bookcase and all your games and everything like that, and you have your figures on top. That's cool. But I think having the artwork is what really pulls it over the top, because then you're not just putting random posters and stuff. You're putting some of your favorite games and everything, and some of the coolest artwork. One of the posters I would love to have is like the Dungeons and Dragons arcade game, the Tower of Doom. They released this thing. I think it was like the Chronicles of Mystaria a little while ago. But I always thought the Tower of Doom poster was so cool. I don't know what it was about it, but that Dungeons and Dragons game always got to me. I love the art from it. And it's funny because I'm talking a lot about art. I guess that's what I've been getting into lately. But I noticed that I've been paying more attention to that than the actual games itself lately. I guess that's kind of like where I've deviated into. I used to collect a lot of games, but I noticed, I guess maybe it has to do with money or whatever, but I noticed that I tend to enjoy that more a lot lately. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The only last thing I think I was going to talk about was the Switch. I do not have one, and to be honest, I really want one, but I can't justify spending $300 plus, Zelda, which is $60, Breath of the Wild. I can't justify that yet because I know that I'm going to beat it within a week. Even if I go back to it, let's say I play it for 2-3 weeks, I know it's just going to sit there until the holidays, until, let's say, like Mario Odyssey comes out, or Splatoon, or whatever, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But I don't believe in always buying the same game over and over and over, even if they do add a little things. It just depends whether you really want it or not, I want to get it. I see that people have all these problems with it, but to be honest, I notice that the more that I stay offline, I don't have like a YouTube presence or whatever they call that. I'm not online a lot. I just thought, I like to talk a lot, clearly. And I try and interject humor, or, my stupid humor. But I like to talk about that stuff, and I would love to talk about it with people. But I just don't have a lot of people that necessarily know games, or, even just conversations about anything in general. Like, I would like to make this podcast about pretty much anything in general. Like, just whatever I feel, or, like, whatever gets me excited for that week. Like, maybe, Beauty and the Beast came out just recently, or Logan the movie, came out. And I went to go see, those, and, I could talk about that for a little bit, about, like, intricate things. But for the most part, I forgot my point. Damn it. Oh, well. That's gone. But yeah, ideally, that's what I would like to be doing for this podcast. I don't know how long this has really gone on for. I just bought a microphone recently, and I figured I'd try it. So I'm just trying to force myself to talk out loud by myself, but it's always a lot easier when you have someone else. You just, the scheduling and so on. But if you guys hear this for the first time, if it's up by then, feel free to leave me feedback or anything like that. Constructive feedback, clearly. But, let me know how it is, if you enjoy it. I think I'm going to try to record as much as possible. I do not know the inner workings of the podcast or all that stuff, but I'm going to try to record this stuff as much as possible. I know I don't necessarily, put myself into a category. It's so cliche for an artist. Well, I can't kind of, be defined to a genre. But I'm going to try and record as much as possible. Sometimes I just need a little boost. I don't have a set schedule or anything like that, but I promise I will try to get them out. I really do like doing this. It feels nice to talk. But we'll just see what comes of it. Anyways, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you for giving me your time. I don't know how. I think this went like 20 minutes at most. Thank you for giving me your time. Please, subscribe if it's on iTunes. I'm going to assume it's going to be on iTunes if I sign up for this little thing that gets it on there. Feel free to subscribe. Tell people if you want to. yeah, other than that, thank you for tuning in to Breaking the Ice, and I will see you guys next time. Hope you guys have a good week.